Yo, what's going on, everybody? So, I wanted to hop on here tonight and tell you guys the story of a bar I used to frequent. It was called Tailgators, and me and my boys would go here when we lived in Ottawa when I was there for school. We would usually go there on like a weekday only. This place wasn't downtown, it was like right near our house. So, it was kind of like our chill bar. And if we were going out on a weekend, we'd go downtown. Now, when I say chill bar, it was because the plan was usually like, go shoot some pool, buy a couple beers, have some wings, usually suicide wings. But that plan never worked out. I mean, every single time I left here, I left fucked up. Not just super drunk either. I mean, my stomach was filled with suicide wings and probably like 15 beers. So I was internally dying. One time I actually went home from doing this and then I was like trying to play it all cool, like, yeah, man, like the wings ain't shit, I do this all the time. And my boy was like, okay, if they're not shit, eat this. And we got home and it was, pause, by the way. We got home and it was like a jalapeno pepper with all the seeds in it. And I was just like, yeah, no big deal. I ate the whole thing and was like trying to keep a cool face. That shit fucked me up and I was dying. So I went to the fridge, I grabbed milk, I just started chugging milk, and I couldn't have made a worse decision. I should have just stuck it out and been a man. So now it's a full jalapeno pepper, suicide wings, like 15 beers, and a ton of milk. Dear God, I was in so much pain all fucking night. I mean, I was just like lying in my bathroom in the fetal position, basically up the entire night. It was fucking horrible. One time I went to this bar and we were bringing one of our friends from residence. He was our boy there. He partied with us like all the time, but he was one of those guys that the second he got a girlfriend, like the next week he moved in with them and you never heard from him ever again. He was one of those guys, but not to be a dick, but he was kind of like a tertiary character. You know what I mean? Like we got over it pretty quick. So he was coming over to come to this bar with us, and he was bringing his girlfriend. We had never met her before. So him and his girl show up, and we're hanging out in my buddy's room. My buddy was in the corner playing music and Xbox at his desk. Me and two of my roommates were just sitting on his bed, and the couple came in and they were just standing in the corner next to the door. By the way, this was the smallest room in the entire house. I don't know why we always like gravitated there to chill and smoke weed, but we literally hung out in the smallest room all the time. We had a living room with like couches. I had the master. We could go in there. I don't know why we did this. We were just that dumb, right? So we were sitting in there like smoking a pipe, chilling, playing music, pre-drinking, all that. Well, the couple were like in the corner, leaning against the wall, just getting way too handsy and like making out. And it was so fucking weird. I mean, we were trying to like make small talk and catch up, and this guy was just like locked in on touching his girlfriend and being a weirdo in front of us. We were just kind of like, all right, and just turned up the music and did everything we could not to give it any attention. But eventually she ripped off the belt and they started like swinging it at each other. And she cracked a joke about how she was going to use it on him later that night. And I was like, bro, like, I was dumbfounded. How could you not be so horrifically embarrassed? This wasn't even a dude we hung out with that much. We hadn't seen this guy in like over half a year. And it had been like 10 minutes. It was crazy. Immediately we cleared out. We went to the living room. We're like, all right, we're calling an Uber. We're going to the bar. Like, we needed way more space from them. We were hoping we could just like shoot pool. They could go sit at the bar and be gross over there. But once we got to the pool bar, they seemed to kind of snap out of it. And it was me, my buddy, and the couple playing in pool. And my other roommate was just at the bar drinking. I guess what happened earlier was just like too much for him. He was scarred. So he was drinking it away at the bar. The rest of us were playing pool. And we were running up a tab, right? I mean, we all got food. We got a bunch of beers, including them. And we had the table for like 2 hours. But eventually they got drunk enough that they were like all over each other again. But now, since they were so hammered, they were just being really aggressive to the point where other tables around us were visibly annoyed and seeing what was going on. And I was like, oh my God, it was so embarrassing. I was drunk enough at this point where I was like, yo, chill, dude. What are you doing? And I'd be like, take your shot. It's your turn. Go. Trying to give them the hint that, like, stop, please stop this. But they didn't get the hint at all. It just got worse and worse. And then eventually the girlfriend was like, all right, well, we have to go. We're going to go home and have sex. And we laughed it off. We're like, yeah, true, true. Okay, yeah, right, right. And then they go outside and we just assumed like they went outside for a smoke. They're either smoking weed or a cigarette or something. But then 10 minutes pass. I'm like, oh, okay. 15 minutes pass. And I'm just like, yeah, they didn't actually leave, right? Like, there's no way. Well, I went out and checked, and of course, they weren't there. They actually dipped. So they were just like the worst people to be around ever, and then stuck us with the tab. I mean, at the time, that hurt. We were not doing well. We were not financially well off. So sticking us with like $150, $160 tab, we were like pissed off at him, and we didn't really see him much after this, to be honest. Much, much later, he called me. I hadn't seen him in probably a year at this point, and we had texted him. He R-bombed us constantly. One time we even tried to have him over for his birthday and like get drunk and shit with him, and he R-bombed the invitation from like four of us. So we're like, oh, all right. But anyways, he called me at like 3 a.m. and I was all the way back at my parents' house. I wasn't even up there anymore. And he was like bawling his eyes out. And I was like, bro, yo, what? Like he woke me out of his sleep. I was like, are you good? And he was just like crying, saying him and his girl broke up. He had nowhere to go. Could he sleep on the couch? And I was like, dude, there's like literally nobody at the house. There's nobody there. I can't let you in. I'm sorry. And I just had to hang up. Like I couldn't help him. But also, that was the first time he tried to contact me after basically cutting us off, and it was just because he needed something. So I guess fuck him, right? Another time I went to this bar, it was just me and my roommate. It was Valentine's Day. We were both single, so we were kind of on our sad boy vibes. We were like, fuck it, we got to escape the holiday, right? So we were like, you know what? Let's hit Tailgators. Let's go have some beers. Well, we went there, and of course, naturally, we're having a couple, and the bartender was chatting us up because there wasn't really many people in the pool hall on Valentine's Day, and the people that were there weren't in the best mood. So we were sitting on the bar. I was kind of like leaning on it, facing him, and he was doing the same in my direction. And now, like looking back at it, it is an odd way to be sitting. And the bartender came over when we were still like drinking our beers or whatever, and just gave us new ones, gave us a couple pints, and we were like, oh, all right, what's going on here, right? Well, he was insinuating that, based on the way we were sitting, he had assumed that we were together. He thought that me and him were there on a date for Valentine's Day, and we, of course, immediately corrected him, but then he let us keep the free beer, so kind of a W, to be honest, kind of jokes. We stayed way longer than we anticipated, had way too many beers, and then we walked home. It was February in Ottawa, so freezing cold. When we got back to our house, our roommate was up, and he was chilling in his room smoking weed, and this was a common occurrence. So often when we came home from the bar, we'd go chill in his room and smoke with him, right? And it was probably like 1 or 2 a.m. at this point. So we're just chilling, smoking weed, playing music, probably being super drunk and really loud. And we had 2 other roommates in this house who were complete randoms to us. We never hung out with them. We barely talked to them. They were weird as fuck. We did not vibe. They hated us. And that's a whole other story. I didn't even remember that until I just said that now. So my point being that we were probably annoying the fuck out of them. I mean, they were literally in the next room. So we were just blasting music and probably scream talking, smoking a ton of weed, basically hotboxing the basement. And I left. I was like, all right, it's like 3 in the morning, 3:30. Fuck this. I'm going to bed. Peace. Later, boys, right? My other roommate who I drank with that night stayed down there. Well, I woke up in the morning at like 7:30 to like a lot of commotion, right? And I opened my door and my roommate's like running through the halls with like a shitload of laundry, like all his bedding. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? It was so early, right? And he was like barely coherent. Eyes were so red and he was just like in such a rush. And I kind of pieced it together that an accident had occurred, if you catch my drift. So I was just making fun of him, being like, oh my God, you pissed the bed? Are you serious? You were that hammered? You know what I mean? Like teasing him. And I was being a dick also because it was like 7:30 in the morning. He woke me up. He was being so loud. And he was like, nah, nah. And he corrected me. He had stayed down in my roommate's room till like 5 a.m. smoking weed, had more beers, all this shit, right? Got to his room and, of course, felt a little off. Well, he projectile vomited all over his bed. He covered his pillows, all his sheets, everything, right? Like, I mean, bro, the floor, the desk, anything else was better. It would have been such an upgrade. He should have just like turned his body, but of course he was too big of an idiot to do that. So he just destroyed his bed, and it was already like 5:30 in the morning at this point. So when he woke me up at 7:30, he hadn't been to sleep. He was just doing laundry all fucking night, right? Such an idiot. Now, this last one I'll make kind of quick because I don't want to make the video too long. But me and my boy were chilling, getting pretty drunk, typical Wednesday night. And we headed down to Tailgators and we kept drinking there. I was having double screwdrivers, he was having double rum and cokes. And we had a bunch, like probably seven or eight. And when we were leaving, the bartender was just like, "Damn, boys, I expected to have to cut you off," insinuating like we can handle our liquor. And I was like, "Yeah, bro. And we pre drank before this." And he was just like, "Yeah, dude, I don't think I'd be flexing that." He switched up entirely, and when I woke up in the morning, I like remembered that and was like, "Fuck, that was a low." I'm sure there's a million other stories from this bar, but every single time I was there, I was pretty much blacked out, so I just don't remember them. So those are the ones I do recall. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Peace.